My son and daughter-in-law said they were taking me to the airport for a vacation, but it was a one-way ticket to a nursing home. When they gave our tickets to the agent, he looked at me, then at them and said, "You two are banned from all our flights by order of the chairman of the board." Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The autumn rain tapped against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Malibu estate like nature's own Morse code, spelling out messages I wasn't ready to decipher. Since Harold passed away 3 years ago, this 30-room mansion had transformed from a warm family home into a mausoleum of memories. I, Eleanor Watson, at 78 years old, had been existing rather than living, drifting through rooms that once bubbled with laughter but now only whispered with the ghosts of better times. The house staff, Maria the housekeeper, James the groundskeeper, and Mrs. Peterson the cook, treated me with the gentle reverence reserved for precious antiques. They spoke in hushed tones, as if afraid their voices might shatter what remained of my spirit. But what they didn't know, what nobody knew except a select few, was that the fragile old widow they tended was actually one of the most powerful women in American aviation. My son David, now 45 with premature gray hair and the soft belly of corporate comfort, saw me as nothing more than a fortunate old woman living off what he believed were shrewd stock investments Harold had made decades ago. His wife Jessica, a former aspiring actress turned trophy wife with artificially enhanced features and an appetite for luxury that could bankrupt small nations, viewed me as an increasingly expensive inconvenience blocking their path to inherited wealth. They had no idea, absolutely no clue, that those lucky investments were actually founding shares in Skywing Airlines, the aviation empire I had built from absolutely nothing. Starting in 1967 with a single Cessna 172 and a dream bigger than the California sky, I had transformed a tiny charter service into one of North America's largest commercial carriers, employing over 60,000 people across 4 countries. The delicious irony that would soon unfold was that my own son was planning to use my airline, to dispose of me like unwanted cargo. For 35 years, I had deliberately maintained my invisibility. While other CEOs courted media attention and graced magazine covers, I believed the company should be the star, not its founder. Only the most senior leadership knew my true identity. Marcus Thompson, the current CEO I had mentored from a junior operations manager. Sarah Chen, head of airport security at LAX, who had started as a baggage handler under my secret scholarship program, and perhaps 24 other key figures who had earned their positions through merit and loyalty, not nepotism. The mansion's silence had become my enemy. Each creak of the hardwood floors, each tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway, each whisper of wind through the olive trees outside served as painful reminders of Harold's absence. We had built this empire together, he handling the financial strategy while I managed operations and expansion. Without him, the house felt like a museum dedicated to our shared dreams. It was on a particularly gray Tuesday morning in October when David and Jessica made their move. They arrived at precisely 9:30 a.m., their black BMW X7 crunching up the circular gravel driveway like an omen of doom. Through my bedroom window, I watched them emerge. David in his expensive but ill-fitting suit, Jessica in designer clothing that screamed, "Look at my price tags." They carried themselves with the confident swagger of people who believed they were about to inherit the earth. "Mother, we have the most wonderful surprise," Jessica announced as they swept into my morning room, where I had been pretending to struggle with the newspaper crossword puzzle. Her voice carried that sickeningly sweet artificial tone that reminded me of corn syrup, cloying and ultimately toxic. "We've found the perfect place for you to spend your golden years." David nodded enthusiastically, though I noticed his eyes immediately begin their familiar inventory of my surroundings, calculating the value of the Monet on the wall, the hand-carved Italian furniture, the Persian rugs that had cost more than most people's annual salaries. "It's called Sunset Manor, Mom. It's in Phoenix, Arizona. Beautiful weather year-round, activities, medical care, everything you could possibly need." I set down my coffee cup with deliberate care, studying their faces intently. David had inherited his father's weak chin but none of his integrity. Jessica's cosmetically enhanced features couldn't quite hide the cold calculation in her eyes. There was no warmth here, no genuine concern for my well-being, only the barely contained excitement of vultures circling what they believed to be a dying animal. "How thoughtful of you both," I replied, injecting just the right amount of tremulous gratitude into my voice. "But shouldn't we discuss this more thoroughly? Such a big decision." "Oh, but we've already handled everything," Jessica interrupted, practically bouncing with excitement. "The paperwork is complete, your bags are packed, and your flight leaves this afternoon. Isn't that exciting? No stress, no worrying about details. We've taken care of absolutely everything." David pulled out his phone and began reading from what was obviously a prepared script. "The facility has 24/7 nursing care, organized activities, a dining room with chef-prepared meals, and beautiful gardens where you can sit and enjoy the Arizona sunshine. You'll be so much happier there, Mom. So much safer." The word safer hung in the air like a threat wrapped in velvet. Safer from what? From managing my own life. From making my own decisions. From interfering with their inheritance plans. But I simply smiled and nodded, playing the role they expected. "Well, if you think it's best, dears. I suppose I have been feeling rather lost in this big old house." What they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly have imagined, was that 3 weeks earlier, I had been enjoying my afternoon tea in the garden when their voices had drifted through the open kitchen window. They thought I was napping in my bedroom, but I had actually been tending to my prize-winning roses when I heard every damning word of their conversation. "The place only costs $1,200 a month," Jessica had said, her voice sharp with satisfaction. "Half what those fancy places charge. Once we have power of attorney, we can sell this mansion and invest the money properly. She'll never know the difference. She's becoming so confused and forgetful." David's response had cut me to the bone. "The important thing is getting her settled quickly, before she becomes completely incapacitated. Dr. Martinez said it's only a matter of time before the dementia really takes hold. Better to move her now while she can still adapt somewhat." Dementia. The word had hit me like a physical blow. I had been battling minor arthritis and the normal memory lapses that come with age, but there was nothing wrong with my mind. Dr. Martinez had never said anything remotely resembling that diagnosis. They were creating a narrative, building a case for their actions. But the most devastating revelation had come next. Jessica had continued. "I researched the place online. It's not exactly luxury living. They've had some citations for understaffing and maintenance issues, but it's cheap and it's permanent. Once she's there, she becomes their problem, not ours. They weren't just planning to abandon me. They were condemning me to a substandard facility with a documented history of neglect while they lived in luxury off my fortune. The cruelty was breathtaking. I hadn't confronted them that day. Successful business leaders don't reveal their strategies prematurely. Instead, I had retreated to my private study and made 2 crucial phone calls that would change everything. The first call was to Marcus Thompson, Skywing's current CEO. Marcus was my hand-picked successor, a brilliant strategist with an MBA from Wharton and a heart big enough to care about every employee from janitors to senior vice presidents. I had been mentoring him quietly for 5 years, preparing him to take the company to heights I could never have imagined alone. "Marcus," I had said, my voice carrying the authority that decades of leadership had ingrained in it. "It's Eleanor. I need you to coordinate with Sarah Chan at LAX for a special situation this Tuesday. It's time we conducted a very personal security review." The second call was to Sarah Chen herself. Sarah represented everything I loved about Skywing. She had started 25 years ago as a part-time baggage handler while putting herself through college on a scholarship I had secretly funded. Through hard work, intelligence, and unwavering dedication, she had risen to become head of airport security at Los Angeles International Airport. Her loyalty to me and the company was absolute, forged through years of mutual respect and shared values. "Sarah," I had told her, "I'm going to need the full treatment on Tuesday. And I mean the full treatment. It's time to remind some people exactly who built this company." My plan wasn't to prevent their scheme. It was to let them walk confidently into a trap of my own design, in the most public, humiliating way possible. They wanted to treat me like cargo to be shipped away and forgotten. I would show them exactly what happens when you betray the person who owns the shipping company. The morning of their planned exile, David and Jessica arrived with barely contained excitement. They had arranged for a medical transport wheelchair, completely unnecessary, as I was perfectly capable of walking, and spoke to me in the loud, slow tones typically reserved for children or the mentally impaired. "Now, Mother," Jessica said, adjusting her designer handbag and checking her reflection in the hallway mirror, "we've packed all your essential medications and some comfortable clothes. The flight is only 3 hours, and there will be someone from Sunset Manor waiting to meet you in Phoenix." David consulted his expensive watch with the air of a man executing a flawless plan. "The flight leaves at 2:15 p.m., which gives us plenty of time to get through security and grab some lunch at the airport. Won't that be nice, Mom? A little adventure before your new life begins." The drive to Alex was excruciating. They chattered excitedly about my wonderful new opportunities, while I sat in the back seat, observing their performance with the clinical detachment of a scientist studying particularly loathsome specimens. "The facility has a beautiful courtyard with fountains," Jessica cooed from the passenger seat. "You'll be able to sit outside and watch the birds. So peaceful and relaxing. No more worrying about maintaining this huge house or managing complicated finances," David added with false enthusiasm. "And we'll visit whenever we can, Mom. Phoenix isn't that far. We'll make sure you're comfortable and happy." Their lies were so elaborate, so carefully constructed, that I almost admired their creativity. Almost. If only they had applied such detailed planning to legitimate endeavors. As we approached the airport, I allowed myself a small smile. Los Angeles International Airport wasn't just another transportation hub to me. It was hallowed ground, the beating heart of the empire I had built. Every terminal, every gate, every square foot of tarmac held memories of deals negotiated, dreams realized, and barriers broken. What David and Jessica saw as a crowded, anonymous building was actually my kingdom, populated by thousands of employees who had never seen my face but had benefited from my leadership, my vision, and my commitment to treating workers with dignity and respect. In the security office overlooking Terminal 3, Sarah Chan monitored our progress through an array of high-definition cameras. Sarah knew this airport like a mother knows her child, every sight line, every choke point, every strategic advantage. She had assembled a team of veteran employees, each personally selected for their discretion and loyalty. Target party approaching the main entrance, she spoke into her headset with military precision. "All units maintain positions. Remember, no one engages until my direct signal. Let them think they're in complete control." As David pushed me through the terminal in the wheelchair, their theatrical touch, not mine, the carefully orchestrated performance began. A security guard named Miguel, a 15-year company veteran with 3 children I had helped put through college via scholarship programs, smiled warmly as we passed. "Have a wonderful trip, Mrs. Watson," he said cheerfully, but his eyes met mine with deep respect, and he gave an almost imperceptible nod of acknowledgement. Jessica was too busy photographing herself with her phone to notice the exchange. At the Skywing check-in counter, the agent, a bright young woman named Lisa whom Sarah had specially selected for this moment, beamed at us with theatrical enthusiasm. "Phoenix! How exciting! The weather there is absolutely perfect this time of year." She glanced at me and gave the slightest, most professional wink imaginable. Every step of our journey was choreographed. Every employee we encountered knew exactly who I was and what was about to unfold. Their smiles weren't for the caring family, checking in an elderly relative. They were honoring their founder, who was about to deliver a master class in corporate justice. We made our way through security without incident. My wheelchair expedited the process, just as David and Jessica had planned. They were practically glowing with self-satisfaction, checking their watches and discussing their dinner plans for that evening. In their minds, by sunset, they would be wealthy heirs with unlimited access to my fortune. Gate 15A. Skywing Flight 447 to Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. The boarding area was moderately crowded with business travelers and families heading to Arizona for various reasons. David positioned my wheelchair at the front of the priority boarding line, exploiting my supposed frailty to gain advantage, a perfect metaphor for their entire approach to our relationship. "Good afternoon," Jessica chirped brightly to the gate agent, presenting our 3 boarding passes with a flourish. "The Watson party, traveling to Phoenix. We're so excited about this trip." The gate agent was Alex Rodriguez, a sharp young man with an MBA in hospitality management and 5 years of experience handling VIP passengers. Sarah had briefed him extensively, and he understood both the importance of the moment and his role in the unfolding drama. Alex accepted the boarding passes with his standard professional smile and began the scanning process. He processed mine first. The computer screen flashed green, indicating normal authorization. Then he scanned David's ticket. The computer erupted in a brilliant cascade of red warning signals. An electronic alarm beeped loudly enough to cut through the ambient terminal noise and make every passenger within a 50-foot radius look up from their phones, magazines, and conversations. "Is there some kind of technical problem?" David asked, his voice carrying the slight irritation of a man accustomed to first-class treatment and immediate solutions. Alex looked up from his screen, and his entire demeanor underwent a transformation that would have impressed method acting instructors. The friendly service representative vanished, replaced by an immovable representative of absolute corporate authority. He looked directly past David and Jessica, making respectful eye contact with me, and gave a subtle but unmistakable nod of acknowledgement. Then he turned his attention back to them, his expression now grave and official. "I'm very sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Watson," he announced in a clear, carrying voice designed to be overheard by everyone in the immediate vicinity. "I'm required to inform you that you have both been permanently banned from all Skywing Airlines flights and placed on our company-wide no-fly list, effective immediately." The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica's gasp was so sharp and sudden it sounded like a balloon popping. Her manicured hand flew to her throat in a gesture of pure shock. "What? That's completely impossible. There must be some terrible mistake. This is my mother-in-law. She's a frequent flyer with your airline." "There is no mistake, ma'am," Alex replied, his voice now carrying the weight of institutional authority. "The ban was issued by direct executive order from the Chairman Emeritus of Skywing Airlines." He paused for dramatic effect, letting the words hang in the suddenly electric air of the gate area, then gestured respectfully toward my wheelchair. "This distinguished lady right here." At that precise moment, as if summoned by divine choreography, Sarah Chen appeared with 2 imposing security officers flanking her like sentries. She approached our little group with the confident stride of someone who owned not just the building, but the very ground it stood on. "David." "Jessica," I said, rising from the wheelchair with steady grace and speaking in the voice that had commanded boardrooms and negotiated billion-dollar deals for 4 decades. "You are no longer welcome on my property." The transformation on their faces was a masterpiece worthy of Renaissance artists. I watched their expressions cycle through disbelief, confusion, dawning horror, and finally, complete devastation as the reality of their situation crashed down around them like a demolished building. They stared at me, then at Sarah and her security team, then back at me, their greedy minds struggling to process the impossible. The helpless old woman they had planned to abandon was actually the empress of this entire domain, and they had just attempted a coup in her own palace. But you're just," Jessica stammered, her artificially enhanced features contorting with confusion. "Senile. Confused. Declining," I supplied helpfully. "I'm afraid you've been misinformed. I am Eleanor Watson, founder and chairman emeritus of Skywing Airlines. And you two have just made the most expensive mistake of your lives." Their destruction was swift, thorough, and absolutely beautiful to witness. My first phone call, made right there in the gate area while security escorted them past a growing crowd of fascinated onlookers, was to Jonathan Pierce, my personal attorney of 25 years. "Jonathan, activate everything we discussed last week. Revoke any power of attorney documents they may have prepared. Freeze all trust accounts I established for them. And draft the new will immediately. They inherit nothing." My second call was to my private banking representative. Within minutes, every credit card tied to my accounts, cards they had been using for years to fund their lifestyle, were permanently cancelled. Before they had even been escorted from the airport property, Jessica's Platinum American Express card was declined when she tried to buy a bottle of overpriced airport water. The small humiliation was perfect punctuation to their larger catastrophe. But the real masterpiece was yet to come. A lifestyle blogger named Amanda Chen, no relation to Sarah, had been waiting for her own flight when she witnessed the entire confrontation. Within 2 hours, her video had been posted to TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube with the caption "Airline heiress's children try to dump her in nursing home." Instant karma. The story went viral with a vengeance. Major news outlets picked it up. Social media influencers shared it. Talk show hosts discussed it. David and Jessica weren't just financially cut off, they were socially destroyed, their names becoming synonymous with elder abuse and greed. As for me, shedding my frail elderly widow persona felt like removing heavy chains. The silence in my mansion no longer felt oppressive, it felt peaceful, pregnant with possibility. I decided to emerge from decades of self-imposed invisibility, not to resume day-to-day airline operations. Marcus was handling that brilliantly, but to launch something I had dreamed of for years, the Skywing Foundation. 1 year later, I'm standing in the cabin of Angel Wings 1, our first specially modified Boeing 767. The aircraft is painted pearl white with golden wings spread across its fuselage, and it represents everything I believe aviation should be: a force for healing, hope, and human connection. This isn't a commercial flight to a nursing home in Arizona. This is the inaugural mission of our medical transport program, designed to provide free flights for critically ill children and their families to specialized treatment centers anywhere in the world. Sarah stands beside me, now serving as the Foundation's Director of Operations. We walk through the cabin, which contains no first-class section, no premium seats, no profit-driven amenities. Instead, it features state-of-the-art medical equipment, comfortable beds for young patients, and space for families to stay close during the most frightening times of their lives. A reporter from CNN's medical correspondent team approaches with her camera crew. "Mrs. Watson, after maintaining such privacy for decades, what inspired you to emerge from retirement and launch this foundation?" I look at 8-year-old Maria Gonzalez, who's traveling with her parents from Los Angeles to Boston Children's Hospital for experimental treatment for her rare heart condition. Despite everything she's facing, her smile could power the entire aircraft. "My children believed my legacy was something they could claim through inheritance," I say, my voice steady and clear as mountain air. "They were profoundly mistaken. A true legacy isn't what you leave for people, it's what you leave within people. It's not about accumulating wealth to be hoarded, it's about creating systems and structures that lift others up long after you're gone." The Skywing Foundation now operates 18 Angel Wings aircraft worldwide. We've transported over 7,000 children to life-saving treatments, reunited families separated by medical crises, and created a network of hope that spans 6 continents. Every flight reminds me that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's living so fully and purposefully that your enemies become irrelevant footnotes in a much larger story. Sometimes, when I'm flying at 35,000 feet in one of our Angel Wings planes, I wonder if David and Jessica ever look up at the sky and remember the old woman they tried to discard. Hope they do. I hope they understand that true wealth isn't measured in bank balances or real estate portfolios. It's measured in lives touched, dreams fulfilled, and hope restored. They wanted to ground me permanently. Instead, they reminded me how to soar. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of the story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left.